The real problem that I was dealing with was my family financially we were on welfare, which means we were living off the charity of other people.
Okay.
We my marriage was falling apart at the seams. I had soon to be 5 small children. I was pregnant with my 5th. And I asked my mom as I was outside shoveling the snow, not knowing where I was gonna get my groceries next, "Why is life so hard?" And my mother, in her infinite wisdom,
Hmm.
she said, "There's no good answers to that question."
Welcome back to Relatable Wisdom, the podcast where everyday people share the quotes that have shaped their lives, inviting us all to reflect and grow together. Today, we're joined by Marianne Hickman, an inspiring international speaker and coach who has transformed her journey from a single mom on food stamps to a thriving entrepreneur with a heart for helping others find their voice. Marianne empowers industry experts to turn their message into movement. Let's dive into our world and discover the wisdom that has guided her along the way. Okay. Tell me your name and what you do.
So my name is Marianne Hickman, and I am a world-class public speaker trainer. So it's my job to put people on stage to make sure their message sounds like they need it to, and so the audience can absorb it and tell their story in a way that changes lives.
Wow. Oh, what's your favorite quote?
Well, I have a lot, and honestly, it's I feel like it changes every day, don't you? Because we need something different every day. But there's one quote that has stuck with me, and it resurfaces again and again and again. And this is the quote: "Is that better questions equals better results." And I have to credit my mom. I don't know if you've seen this, but nowadays there seems to be an unspoken rift that social media wants us to have to separate us from our families. We
Oh,
we are separated from our parents, we're separated from our siblings, we're separated from our spouses because we're coddled and we're told they won't understand you, I understand you, and we isolate ourselves. And no one's talking about this. No one is talking about this happening. But the rate in therapy right now is trending up with the rate of ostracization from your parents, and it
yeah,
terrifies me, so I have to credit my mom with this
yeah,
quote that she gave me.
yeah. Thank you, Marianne Hickman's mom, wherever you are now. Yeah, thank you for for giving her this quote. You said better questions equal results. I know it's a simple the other words that are really simple that someone in grade 5, grade 6 would understand. But I'd love for you to concretize it, like give us a context to explain what it really means.
Well, I have to go back to the story that we were talking about earlier. Uh, I for those of you in the States, you know what snow is like when you have to get it off your driveway. It's
Yeah.
really tough to deal with. And I'm shoveling this snow off my driveway because I can't leave my house while this is there. And as I'm shoveling the snow and I'm pushing the shovel and I get stuck and it's a lot of hard work, I'm on the phone with my mom. Now, the snow wasn't the big problem that I was dealing with. That was just a physical problem. The real problem that I was dealing with was my family financially we were on welfare, which means we were living off the charity of other people.
Okay.
We my marriage was falling apart at the seams. I had soon to be 5 small children. I was pregnant with my 5th. And I asked my mom as I was outside shoveling the snow, not knowing where I was gonna get my groceries next, "Why is life so hard?" And my mother, in her infinite wisdom,
Hmm.
she said, "There's no good answers to that question." And I
Hmm.
thought about it. And I was forced to agree that she was right because if I ask the question, why is life so hard? Guess what my brain is going to do? It's going to look for all of the answers to that question because my brain, it's just a computer. It's just doing what it's told. If you go to Google, I tried this. If you go to Google and you type in, "do not show me pictures of kittens," do you know what Google does? Last time I checked, 8 million
Uh,
results, and guess what? All of them kittens, right?
yeah.
But
Yeah.
I'm telling it not to. Why is it doing it? It's because it functions the same way our brain does. I'm telling it what not to do, but it's latching onto that keyword. And so if I'm saying, "Why is my life so hard?" my brain's gonna look for reasons why it's hard. And if I change my question to say, "What am I good at? What was really easy today? Why am I already successful?" Now
Yeah.
my brain's gonna do exactly what it's programmed to do and look for the answer. And if we ask better questions with answers that we want to hear, just watch what happens.
Wow. You see, when you mentioned that the instance of Google, I remember this folk tale I read in when I was in secondary school. Yeah, that's high school. So there was this king that he wanted to whatever he touched to turn to gold, right? And he saw a magician. I'm changing the story, but you get the concept of it. And he was like, "Oh, so I can do anything you want." And he was like, "Okay, okay." I said, "Can you turn everything here to gold?" Say, "Yeah, I can do that. That's a piece of cake. That's normal thing. I do it daily. You're underestimating my powers." I was like, "Okay, okay. So what do I need to do to do it?" He said, "You don't need to do anything, but just one thing." And he was like, "I will do it now, and I'll see some things, and it will turn to gold. But this is what you do all the while I'm doing this chant and ritual. Don't think of the word abracadabra." And that's impossible. That's
Yeah.
impossible. Like, yeah, because now he's like trying not to think of the word abracadabra, and so the man was able to get away with not doing the stuff because of that clever little trick.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And our poor brains. I was listening to Tony Robbins earlier today, and he was talking about a man who actually won the Nobel Prize for a discovery that he made that differentiates the brain from the heart. And this is what he said. And I'm paraphrasing here because can't quote it directly, but the message is this: your brain is not the thing that gives you happiness. But you and I hear we're in the personal development space all the time, right? We hear all the time we are in charge of our own happiness. Happiness comes from within, but it doesn't come from your brain. It doesn't. And we can prove it. I don't I don't know if you've ever been to a concert or a musical event. I remember going to one when I was a little kid, and they said it is the worst thing to do if you cough at a concert. Don't cough at
Mm.
the concert because it's going to get in the recording. It's going to disrupt the musicians. And of course, people cough because they were told not to. Back to this whole thing, right? But the music was beautiful. It was incredible. The decor was amazing. But when we left the concert and our teacher asked us, "How was the concert?" What's the first thing we said? "Oh, well, it was okay. It was good. But man, people just kept on coughing. It ruined it." When in reality, if you think
Uh,
about it, the cough was probably 3 seconds, if that.
yeah,
And there was an hour and a half of beautiful music. There was an hour and a
yeah,
half of the most elegant thing, and our brain is looking for all of these reasons why we should be unhappy. Our poor brains, we need to teach it, we need to train it. But guess what? Our soul, our heart, whatever you want to call it, this eternal part of us, that's where happiness comes from, because there is a memory that is knit, it is sewn into the fabric of our being that remembers joy. That's why babies laugh for no reason. It remembers where we came from. It remembers our God and our Heavenly Father and our Heavenly Mother, and it remembers what it's like. And we get these small glimpses, and tapping into that is where happiness comes from.
yeah, yeah. I think in today's day and age, right, with everything that's happening right now, with in a world where you can get any answer you want with ChatGPT and everything, right? It takes courage to ask questions. We're not even talking about better questions. Like, we're not like, at that point in time with the story you told, I could only imagine that you were at almost a breaking point where you're like, I have to ask this question. Why is life so hard? So it was, how you were pushed to the wall, and you're like, you talk back, you shout back. And now a lot of persons, they can get answers, but they're not even asking the questions, right? I see certain persons, they're struggling with something and I'm like, ChatGPT can do this. Or they know of ChatGPT, they know ChatGPT can do, but I'm like, why didn't you just ask ChatGPT? And I'm like, oh, well, I've been looking for how I would do this. I'm like, looking for what? Why are you looking for it? Ask ChatGPT. And they're like, so I realized that asking questions is an act of courage.
I would totally agree with that. I think I read a book by Charlie Mackesy recently. He's an Australian artist and author. And in the book, there's a little boy, and he's got a fox, and he's got a horse, and he's got a mole. And there's a conversation. They're all talking as they're walking through the forest. And the little boy asks the horse, and he said, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" He asks the
Mm,
horse this question, and the response is just one word. And the little boy asks, "What's the bravest thing you've ever said?" And the horse says, "Help." That's the bravest thing you can ever say. Help is not
yeah.
admitting defeat. Help is eliminating defeat. But it takes humility. It takes, and we're not encouraged to be humble. Social media does not encourage us to be humble at all,
Uh, yeah,
right? We have
yeah.
to look the part. We have to look like we have all the answers. And the more we do that, there's this effect called the Dunning Kruger effect, which means when our knowledge is low, our confidence can be weirdly high because we learn just enough to think we know a lot of things. And then we make a
Yeah.
bunch of mistakes. We get slammed to the ground, and a lot of people stay there. Then we realize we don't know very much. We study and we learn and we ask for help, and we stop talking so much and we listen more. And that's when our confidence and our knowledge grow together.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. It takes courage to ask questions, and especially when it's you know I recently you see how I say everything. All my episodes are kind of connected. I think I'll do a playlist. I had a guest who told me that every complaint is a poorly worded request.
Ooh, I like that.
And usually people complain like life is hard, right? I'm using the example you gave. But my life is hard. That's a complaint. Now, trying to say why is my life hard? That's a question. Not a good question, but it's a question. It's a starting point, right? Why is my life hard? But most people are like, oh, life is hard. The US is hard. Whatever country you stay in is hard. Everything is hard. This is hard. Life for me as a lady is hard. Life for me as a guy is hard. Everything is hard, hard, hard. And it's a complaint. So guess what? In complaints, what happens is that we're shifting blames. We're not trying to resolve anything. We're like, oh, life is hard because of this, right? But when we make requests, we're making demands. We're like, okay, why is life hard? What do I need to do to make things better? Now, and in certain situations like that, we're having expectations from certain persons. It could be ourselves, right? What do I need to make things better? What's in place for me to? What opportunities are in place for me to take advantage of in terms of my country, right? These are questions that we need to start asking, but we don't because I don't know why. Maybe it's easier to just complain.
Well, it is easier to complain. It's actually a law of physics. It's called the law of entropy. It is easier for things to break down than it is to build anything.
Wow, wow, wow. The law of entropy. And then there's another law that it's like Newton's law. Everything will remain in a state of rest or perpetual motion except being acted upon by an external force.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And people are just the same way. Without work, we will deconstruct ourselves. And human beings don't really always love work. We're not naturally predisposed to it. There's when we get the reward when we work hard, of course we get the endorphin hit and we get the rush, and there's an incentive to keep doing it, but we need to be pushed sometimes. We need to give ourselves some kind of a reward at the end of it. I want to can I share with you my favorite question?
Please do.
That really, this is a question that anyone can ask at any point in time, and it will lead you to whatever it is you're looking for. It will lead you to that relationship that you've been looking for. It will lead you to
Okay.
that job that you've been looking for. It will lead you to the entrepreneurial journey that you want. It will lead you to your next customer. It will lead you to your weight loss. It will lead you to your better health and better fitness. And this is not a hyperbole. This is real. And this is the question. Before I tell you the question, you have to know where you want to go. Do you want a better body? Do you want a better relationship with your husband or your wife or your kids? You have to know where you're going. But once you have that, here's the question.
Let's take a quick pause. If you're enjoying this conversation and want more thought-provoking ideas straight to your inbox, join the Relatable Wisdom email list. It's free, quick, and filled with bite-sized insights, inspiring quotes, and behind-the-scenes reflections from our guests. Just head to relatablewisdom.com/join. That is relatablewisdom.com/join. Or tap the link in the show notes. And hey, subscribing to the podcast helps more than you think, and it's free. So if you haven't already, hit that follow button wherever you're listening. All right, let's get back to the conversation.
In order for me to, and then you describe whatever it is you want, in order for me to become healthier, in order for me to find my next client, in order for me to make $1 million, what is the number one thing I must do before I go to bed tonight? Your brain is going to give you an answer. And if you don't judge it, even if it doesn't make sense and you do it, here's what happens. Tomorrow, when you ask that question again, you're going to be given a different answer because you did the first one. That question, I ask it every single day. I rarely don't ask that question, and I'm given a list, and I'm given a download through inspiration of whatever strange thing I might need to do. And if I don't judge it, there's always a gift on the other side.
Yeah. It's weird because for most of the quotes that my guests share, I deeply resonate with the quotes, and sometimes I'm like, you know how people articulate something? I'm like, yeah, I've lived that. I've lived that quote. I've lived that experience, right? And it is the case of better questions create results. When I started podcasting, I wanted to do video, right? Like the way we're having a conversation, which I'm doing right now. But my internet was bad, was really bad. And so what will happen is that I'll be talking to you, and then you hear me 3 minutes later, and then when you're trying to respond, like it was really bad. And I'm just starting podcasting, and so it's the first time, and I was sweating. Like I'll rub my face like I was sweating, and then I sat there and I was like, okay. I mean, this internet stuff is not working out. What could I how can I keep on doing the podcast? The first one I asked was like, how can I do a video podcast? Because I wanted to do video podcast. That's what I wanted. How can I do a video podcast? And I was like, okay, I could do solo episodes. Without there will be no need for internet. I'll just do my solo episodes. I'll upload it, and however long it takes for the internet to upload, that's not really a problem, right? And I was like, okay, well, for right now, I want to do interviews. How can I do interviews? Right. So it wasn't like so I was asking series of interconnected questions. I was like, okay, I could do audio only interviews. It takes less bandwidth, right? Right now I'm needing like 5 or 6 MB. But if I'm doing audio only interviews, I would maybe be looking for less than 1 MB, and I'll be good. Right. And I started with audio only interviews. And then later on I asked myself that, okay, this problem I'm facing, this is not a peculiar problem. Because I mean, like the reason I'm facing the internet issues is because the network is bad in the country. And so I asked myself, what are other people that are doing this kind of thing in Nigeria? What are they doing in terms of network speed? Right? And I was like, okay, wait. Sometimes we have the answers, but because we're not asking the right questions, we lose track of the answers. I realized that the off-peak period for internet here is like midnight till dawn. That's 12 to 6 a.m. And this is something I already know because there was a time when I was not financially buoyant. I would there's a special night data plan where you subscribe and you can only browse in the night, and I will browse in that time. And the reason why it was cheaper was because there was less people online trying to browse in the night. Everybody's asleep, right? And so the internet is faster. And I was aware of this like 3-4 years. I've been using that stuff, and yet I was struggling with this thing because I wasn't asking the right questions to lead me to that answer I already had. And so when I noticed, I was like, yeah, I was like, okay, let me try it. And 12 to 6, it has been fantastic. I've been having conversations, and I'm like, wow, this is brilliant. And guess what? It's series of questions, series of questions, series of questions. At the point, I could have just made a statement that doing video interviews with terrible internet in my country is really hard and impossible. And that would be it. Nothing.
I'm so impressed that was the answer, and so many people aren't willing to do that. They're saying, "Oh, it's just not possible. Oh, my internet's bad," and that's that blame you were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
When we
Yeah.
refuse to ask the question, and that, yeah, it's the internet. It's not my fault. It's not possible. Oh, it's
Yeah.
based on where I was born. That's not possible because of where I live, or it's not possible because of the color of my skin, or it's not possible because my parents were divorced, or it's not blah 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 blah. Do you know how many remarkable people statistically shouldn't be remarkable? We shouldn't know their names.
Yeah.
But because they
Yeah.
change the way they think of things, because they're doing what you said, they don't blame and they start asking, how is it possible? I know this seems elementary, but a lot of the most impactful tools are. They're just basic. And we just haven't
Yeah.
used them.
Yeah. Yeah. Right now, for my listeners, right, and for me too, right? Um, I don't know if you can, with the short time that is available, if you can create a framework for asking better questions, right? Because it's not, because granted, it's not enough to ask questions. You might ask questions, and the questions might end up, instead of doing you good, they end up doing. Because I'm serious, like people ask some questions that you're like, why would you be like? I'm like, that question is not meant. That question is not going to serve you. It's going to enslave you. It's not going to like help you. And so the question is, how do we ask better questions? Is there a framework we could use to? Okay, how do you ask better questions? Let me put it that way.
Absolutely. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
and we kind of went over this a second ago. If you want to write this down, if you're listening to the show, grab a pen and paper. Maybe you're listening while you're on a walk or whatever it is. Write this down because there is a framework and it's exceptionally simple, but it's exceptionally powerful because of its simplicity. So number one is understand what you want with exceptional clarity.
Ooh.
Meaning
Ooh.
you have to be able to paint a picture of it. If I want to be wealthier, well, I can't paint a picture of wealthy. If I want to be wealthier, it needs to have something I can measure, whether it's
Yeah.
$1 million in my bank account or a new
Yeah.
car or this kind of house, it needs to be something I could show in a picture or an image. So know what it is that you want so
Okay.
clearly that you could describe it. Number two, this is the question we talked about it a moment ago, but I want you to write down the framework for this question. In order for me to have, and then you name what it is that you want, whether it's the car or the marriage or the body or the food or whatever it is that you want. In order for me to have this, what must I do before I go to bed tonight? And you can even change that up to what must I do in the next 5 minutes? You can
Yeah.
change up the time frame, but don't make it longer than a day. That's too far out because you need to be doing something. And then, and this is the third part. So we've got know where you're going. Number two, that's the framework for the question. And then number three, you have an obligation. You have a responsibility to act on the inspiration that you have been given.
Hmm.
Because if you don't act on that inspiration, you don't act on that answer, you're not going to be given more answers. Because God's going to be like, I'm waiting for you to do the first thing I told you, and you didn't. And now that opportunity
Yeah.
is passed.
Yeah. Yeah. I've noticed this thing that most persons it takes them 6 months to do a thing that will actually take them maximum of 20 hours.
If they just sat
And
down and did it, yeah.
yeah. And then they're like, oh, I've been doing the podcast for, I've been strategizing and thinking, I've been coming up with concepts and ideas to start the podcast. And I'm like, yeah. Okay, so how long have you been doing that? For about 7 months now. I'll still launch the show. And I'm like, okay, that's nice. I mean, I'm like, is there a different thing called a podcast that I don't know? Or is it the same podcast that I know? No, because I need to know so that we were clear on these things. And like, yeah, no, it's a podcast, the normal stuff that. And I'm like, sign a podcast is pretty easy. They don't complicate these things,
Yeah.
Do the stuff, launch it, and in less than maybe 6 hours, you have a show up and running. But guess what? You want it to be perfect, and you don't even know what you're doing, and yet you want. Why are you pretending? Why? Why? Like, I'm serious. Why? You're a beginner. Like. Right, it's like I'll give you an example of public speaking. You just starting out, right? You've not spoken, like you've not given a public talk in the lot of person they've not given a public talk ever in their life. They really talk to their family and their friends, and the first time you're doing it, you're like, okay, I don't want to stutter. And I'm like, give the talk, just do it. And like,
Yeah.
but this guy, Tony Robbins, he speaks. Will you stop that nonsense? Do you know how many years of practice, that you see him and he's talking like this and you're like, calm down, you're a beginner, embrace that and be and develop. Don't
Yeah.
try. Like people want to try to be others and they forget that it takes years, right?
Well, and that's one of my favorite quotes is if you want to be good at something, you have to be willing to be bad at it first.
Yeah.
If you go
Yeah.
back and watch Tony Robbins' first videos, they're under Anthony Robbins. It looks like his first videos. I'll just say that much. We
It
all start
looks like.
somewhere. I like what you said.
Yeah.
Why are you pretending? Just knock that off. Just
Yeah.
embrace it. We're here for the first time, and guess what? Nobody has ever done this day before.
Yeah.
We all woke up today for the first time, and none of us have ever done this day before, and we're all just making it up as we go.
Yeah, the thing I'm just going to chip this in quickly because I see that it's almost time, is that most of the goals people we have in life, people want to do those things because of what those things will help them do. I'll give an example. If you, let's say you want to become a public speaker, you're like, oh, if I become a public speaker, people will pay me millions to give a speech and all that, and which is nice. There's nothing wrong with that. But nobody wants to become a public speaker because of what becoming a public speaker would do to you, right? You say, oh, I'll become more confident. I would be able to communicate clearly. I'll be able to articulate my thoughts and all those things. Nobody wants. No. That's not the deal. I want to become a public speaker because I want to make more money. But if you focus on who you become, then it's no longer a thing of, oh, how much money do I make? It's more okay. Yesterday I slept. Okay, today now I'm getting better. And it's pretty much easy.
Yeah, that's so true. We have to want the work that comes with it as well.
Yeah. Thank you so much, Marianne, for an absolute episode, and thank you so much for sharing your quotes with me. And I feel wiser at the end of each episode, and this is one of them.
Well, I thank you for hosting this. Thank you for getting up in the middle of the night to bless the world with not only your wisdom, but the wisdom of everyone that you collect and everyone that you find. What you're doing is, I hope you know how important it is for people, because I'm sure you've gotten these messages, but whatever episode you publish might just be the one thing that someone needed that day. And I'm grateful that you're doing this.
Yeah, thank you so much. For people, where can people learn more about you and what you do?
So if you just go to mariannehickman.com, that has all of my social links. So just go to my website. You can check out everything that I'm doing. You can download my books on how to speak. You can download my podcast database on how to get booked on your own shows. But if you want to hang out, that's where you find me, MarianneHickman.com, and you can find me on Instagram too. I'm all over the place. Let's connect and get your message out there.
Yeah, once again, thank you so much for this episode.
It's an honor and a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for listening to Relatable Wisdom. If you found something meaningful in this episode, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you're listening. If you'd like to support the show, you can do that by buying me a coffee. The link is in the show notes. Every little bit keeps the conversations going. I'm your host, Wisdom Okonkwo, and I will see you in the next one. Until then, stay curious, stay inspired, and keep growing.